Yeah,
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Not too bad. How is the weekend coming along?
It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah, this weekend is like all about snow here, right? So it's super snowy and the canals are frozen in Amsterdam. So yeah, I love winter, so it's a really fun time to be here right now.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I went skiing yesterday. I've been skiing quite a lot recently, cross country, and the
Uh,
conditions here are just amazing right now in Lithuania.
where do you go in skiing? I didn't know like people it was possible to go around Lithuania.
Oh, well, yeah, so when I first came here, I was a bit worried because it's so flat. Where are the mountains, you know? But
Tell me,
we
I
do
live
have
in
really, yeah, we have great conditions for snow and skiing right now. So it's pretty flat, but there are some gardens and parks. So I'm going to a botanical garden, and then there is also this golf stadium where you can ski. So there are some options.
Okay, fair enough. And
I take whatever I get.
you do cross country skiing?
Yeah, yeah, I do cross country. I also do downhill, but I'm trying to do most cross country now while the season is good for that, and then maybe later on I'll go to the alpine centers that just opened.
Okay.
So, but those are they last longer because they use fake snow, you know. So it's
Yeah, I never did cross country. Like always did downhill. What do you think is like more fun? What is more fun about cross country?
Mm, I don't know. Maybe for me, cross country is in a way more fun because I feel like it's more. Um, it's something you can do always, and you can use it also for transport, and also it's such a I don't know cultural thing. It's important. I know for my family, and I know going back in history, I know that this is a way we've probably transported or commuted a lot. So I think it's a cool sport, or it's not even a sport. It's so much more than a sport. While downhill is more, I don't know, just for fun. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
Well,
for the adrenaline.
well, I guess so. I guess it all starts like as a survival skill and then becomes fun thing. So whenever I try to pick up some sort of extreme sports, I feel like well, you should optimize for effort to enjoyment ratio, like that how much effort you put in and how much enjoyment you get out. So I feel like
Oh,
cross country is a little bit on the opposite side of that end. It's like
okay, okay.
it's like a lot of work probably because you have to go up and down and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true, but that's also where the fun starts, you know. You need to do more. I think the whole, like downhill is more for I feel it feels lazy for me, that you just take the elevator up and then just go down.
hey,
And also, yeah, and also it's quite expensive compared to cross country, I think.
yeah, I suppose, but we have upper ski at least, so that's good.
That's good to have a lot of options anyways.
Exactly. Fair enough. Thanks a lot for like coming in. I just like we had a bunch of chat already, I guess before, so just want to like do it like also catch up kind of thing. So the idea is like probably you already saw like just like over the next hour, just talk about you and like see how we can understand about like how uh, coming from a country like Norway and the different kind of life experience that have how is it shaped basically as a person. So that'll be like a start. So I think we met in like 2019 summer kind of thing, I guess, in Vilnius, right?
Yes.
Fair enough. So
Yeah, I remember now, and yeah, it
yeah,
was nice.
yeah, I hope
Had
so.
a stroll around town.
Yeah, that's like a good day. Also, I think sunny and like a lot of nice walking around.
It,
Um,
it's funny that I was a foreigner here in Vilnius, and I had already started taking foreigners on tours and showing them the city, but without even knowing it myself.
well, that's a fun part. Like when I use your couchsurfing to like meet people in different places, right? So
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
I'm a bad planner, I'll wait until like last day to reach out to people and like it's too short notice to find someone. I'm like, well, now we are like two foreigners in a new city. So I'm like, well, that's also interesting. So good.
Uh,
So
yeah.
why don't we start like with maybe just 1 minute summary of like how where you start from and how what has it got you today?
Well, yeah, it depends how far you go back. But yeah, I guess right at this moment, maybe it's easier to start here. I'm this kind of weird Norwegian person living in Lithuania. Not very common, but it's pretty cool down here. I've been living abroad for the last 5 years, more or less. Um, and I've been living in various countries, mostly through my studies because I did a lot of exchanges and then I was living abroad and I did studies online and I went back and forth. So I've been living in Cape Town in South Africa. I've been living in Istanbul in Turkey for most time, probably. And then also London, UK. Yeah, and then I was living in Norway for a bit in between, travels and such. And yeah, I studied comparative politics and social policy research, and now I'm working as a researcher, but for a consulting company. But I'm working on behalf of international organizations, so I get to work with a lot of interesting topics that probably always interested me, like human rights and sustainable development. So I'm just really, yeah, I'm at the moment very happy enjoying my job, but of course also all these experiences from traveling, and also since I grew up and I got the chance to travel a lot because my parents um, were a bit, I don't know, creative when we went on holidays. So I carry some experiences with me that I probably also get to use or in my work and take inspiration from on a daily basis.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. And so that's like a good place to like start. Maybe the thing you mentioned, you're pretty happy like now. It's kind of like something we all can use for at this point in lockdown at home, I guess. One thing is like I always like was trying to figure out if you see the happiest countries ranking of the world, like Norway's up there, number five, just above Netherlands, let's say. I have a sense of Netherlands. What kind of like makes people happy? What do you think? Like,
Yeah.
why are people happy from Norway in generally?
In Norway, what makes people happy there?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So
I would
first,
say that
first,
it's
first, first,
no, no,
first, do you
I,
agree that people are generally happy there?
yeah, no, we do first of
Okay.
all
Okay.
agree. No, but or I don't know, I could also question it because we do have also like in Lithuania quite high suicide statistics
Right.
and a lot, and also recently we have increasing number of youth with depression and anxiety. But depression and anxiety, I'm not so sure if it's more the case that people feel more free and comfortable talking about their issues nowadays. It's a bit hard to understand these trends, but we do have some issues like that. But at the same time, yeah, we are also. I would agree that we are also happy to some extent, or at least I think what we're talking about or thinking about is more feeling of security, and comfort and trust is quite high in the country. So people don't have those kind of worries on a daily basis that I think would make people unhappy in all kinds of situations.
Well, what do you think adds to that trust factor? Like I was trying to read some research on this, and probably you have
Mm.
done a bunch of things. Do you think it's kind of like like traditionally, always it had been like there was a in tribe and out tribe. I was like looking at like Norway has like a lot of people with Norwegian like back.
Yeah,
Do you think that kind of like natural, like even though we understand we are like educated and stuff, that's kind of like a gut
okay.
feel there,
That it's a homogeneous society, you mean, or?
right?
Well, I think that the trust level has a lot to do with, or at right now at least, a lot to do with politics over the last 100 years, with development of welfare state, and that we over the last years have had a state that has been very supportive, and also then on top of that, economic growth and a lot of industry. So um, yeah, but going further back in this issue of, or like thing about a homogeneous society, no, for sure. I mean, to some extent, probably it does matter. Um, but I don't know how, if the trust was so high back in the days, or if it's this I haven't looked into.
Right.
Uh, and Norway is also becoming much more diverse um,
Yeah. Yeah.
over the last years, for sure. Um, just I think maybe Sweden is also a good example of becoming more diverse, but so far we don't have the kind of um, no kind of complicated issues, or at least not at the same level as Sweden. So,
So,
but
so
yeah.
that's kind of like interesting also because it's a big part of his like welfare state considering
Mm.
a lot of like as humans we are like two times more afraid of something of a loss compared to gaining the same amount, right? That's a kind of like a behavioral
Mhm.
principle. uh, saying that like how do people like perceive of like a government like generally through life, like how do people think about government or their role at this point?
Well, I think it's important that we don't have um, we're not that many people, and we don't have that much corruption. Okay, we have a bit because oil industry, but we don't have that much.
Right.
So like if you want to someone to listen to you, you can get through to people, you can get politicians to listen to you. And we've had a really high level of newspapers being sold and read over the years, and a lot of people engage in discussions, like they write articles, they go on debates on TV, and people all listen to this, or kind of a lot of people at least are involved in this whole communication, and that creates some trust as well to politicians. So even now, if we have a right-wing government that in many ways is reducing the welfare state, we still have this very democratic, culture, um, which also does go probably further back, and then also from Viking times, and we did have some kind of already then some traditions of this having like open discussions and deliberation, which may have impacted this culture, but um, yeah. So I think those are really crucial points.
Mm, fair enough. I think I noticed that one also. Just coming from India, it's like 1.4 billion people, right? So
Yeah.
I saw it like if there's a street festival, imagine how dirty even like Amsterdam gets after the next day. Imagine that 365 days a week, a year.
Mm.
It feels like that kind of like trust and thing just doesn't scale as a system at like massive populations. So you have to
Mm.
try different kind of things that you can do. Like Norway has, I think, 5.5 million people.
Yeah. No,
So
I think that's a valid point. It would be much more hard to manage this whole deliberation, and like
too many voices.
it would be very difficult if you had that many people. But then again, also, you may have advantages further down the line with being that many people as well. Norway is kind of shrinking in a way in population.
We'll
So
find out. Like considering industrial age is going, and then the fourth industrial age,
mm,
we are going to probably less people to do this mechanized work. So I don't know how is it good to be in like a state where Norway is already, or like still like 30 years behind that. So we'll find out, I guess.
yeah, you.
So one thing is also where do you grow up in Norway? Which place?
Yeah. So I grew up in southwest of Norway, Stavanger. It's the fourth biggest city. It has like 200,000 people
Gotcha.
population right now. Yeah. But maybe what's interesting is that none of my parents are from the area, so I don't have much family there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's where I grew up.
How is it like growing up? Like if you remember, like what kind of things will you do? What kind of like what kind of area is it? Is it mountainy?
It's very beautiful. It's by the coast, and it also has mountains and fjords. Um, yeah, it's I lived kind of on top of a hill, so I would see the mountains every day, and just wonderful view, and there was a lot of nature. I didn't mention that earlier, but actually, I did read studies on that, how spending time in nature as a child can have a really positive effect on happiness. Um, yeah, so I know I had a lot of nature around me growing up,
And,
going
and
on walks and trips and hikes and everything.
Did you have siblings?
No, no, no.
No.
I'm an only child.
Okay. Like one thing I was always curious, like how do people grow up, right? So what kind of things you do?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how much did you control? Do you have? So did you have a lot of free time, unstructured time, or did you have like very like a scheduled charger? Like, well, you have to go these classes, do these things.
Yeah, no, that is very interesting. I did have quite a lot of structure to my daily life, but I also wanted to do a lot of activities, and
Right.
then it was quite common. I would join football and choir, and playing flute and other instruments, and yeah, it
Okay.
would be quite active. It was a bit structured. Like some of the things my parents would tell me to do because probably I was too early to make a choice, but then later on I would try something else. So
Hmm. That's interesting. That's a wide range. Choir and this one and violin also. Do you still?
oh yeah, well no, I always I have this still. I think maybe impression from my family that you need to have both sports and music in your life. It's like really important. Those are two pillars. You need to have both.
Oh, how come? What does like sports and music as a polar opposite whole like?
No, yeah, maybe it's not opposites but you need to have something yeah, to keep you physically active, and then something to keep you creative. So it doesn't need to be music, it could also be arts, but uh, music maybe in a sense more important because you can more easily connect with other people, like sing and participate in musical um, events or yeah, social gatherings that are related to music. So
Do you still play music?
yeah, I play drums,
Oh,
and I sing, but I don't sing in a choir.
okay. I was,
Yeah, it's a bit hard to find choirs around here in Lithuania, but I probably could if I did some more efforts.
yeah. Like that's one of the things I'm always like in the awe of. Recently, I was watching these couple of movies about Freddie Mercury's movie Bohemian
Mm,
Rhapsody and Elton John's movie The Rocket Man, and
mm-hmm.
it's like as a group like that group I just don't understand musicians. How can you create something? Just the process of like you have this conviction and the way of making a kind of music it's kind of like really out of like what I understand. So it's really like
Mm.
impressive. I could never learn to.
Oh yeah, but that's very interesting. I don't I'm kind of opposing a bit this idea that it has to be so advanced. When I grew up, I had this painting in my room. It's like a Zimbabwean saying, "If you can talk, you can sing. If you can walk, you can dance." Uh, and it's really like it's very yeah. I know not everyone would agree, of course, but I think you can to a large extent train yourself to do things, but also music is such like simple thing, a way of communicating in a way. So it doesn't need to be so advanced. You don't need to understand notes, or you can train yourself, but it doesn't need to be so complicated.
Fair enough. So one thing is also like how is the school in where you went to school? Like what kind of like a structure do you have?
In school,
Yeah.
I, I think it's pretty similar to most countries. We have elementary school up to seventh grade, and then um, yeah, junior high school, and then high school, and then university. Maybe interesting points would be that we start at 7 years of age, um, or like 6, 7 in that year. And then also, because this differs between different countries, and then also that kindergarten is quite important. So I would start in kindergarten really, really early, like when I was maybe just 1.5 years or something.
Okay.
So, very early being, sorry, split from the family in a way.
Hmm. Okay. And do you also so I guess it's 12 years before the college kind of time, I suppose, overall schooling. What are the subjects? Like, do you study all kind of subjects, English, Hindi, not Hindi, probably you study something else.
um, not Hindi, unfortunately.
I guess so.
But a cool thing is that there were lots of high schools that were offering very interesting languages like
Okay.
Chinese and Arabic and such. So
Okay.
uh, yeah, but yeah, we I started with Spanish pretty early. You could choose Spanish, French, or German, in addition to English, and then English we start super early, like at 8 years or something. Um, but I also lived in England when I was a child, so I was traveling a lot to England growing up. So always got to practice it a lot.
But that's something I do
Yeah.
do notice whenever I go North Europe, like Scandinavian countries, like people really speak good English. It's almost like a not European sounding kind of like an accent also. So it's a very different group that four countries.
Yeah, but also it's like it's funny because to me because it's also so similar. The more languages I learn, the more I realize how similar Norwegian and English is,
Right.
and also how simple Norwegian is. Like I'm now looking at all these grammatical cases and cases, with Russian, and I was looking into how many of these do Norwegian actually have, and then I realized that okay, English it only has 4 cases, and then Norway it only has 2.
Okay.
And then there are lots of languages that have like 7 or more than that, or
Do
German
do
also
do
pretty
do you, do,
complicated. So
do
it's a
you,
very
do you guys,
simple language.
but do you guys also have what do you call gender neutral terms? I was like really
Oh yeah. Oh,
uh,
but that is a new invention. But
no, no.
yeah, we do.
I was
We
really
do have
surprised. I haven't been to Norway. I need to make it, but
it.
when I was in Finland, I was just trying to figure out like some words, and for them, for the like he or she is kind of like a combined word. I think
Hmm.
it's gender neutral
Okay.
words. I'm like they were like saying, well, we were hip before it was 2020, so so we were
Oh
all
yeah. Oh no, that's cool. No, but it may be that I'm not sure with Finnish, but I know that Turkish also doesn't have a gender pronoun.
okay.
So they only have it, which would go for all genders and everything. While in Norwegian, also Swedish and Danish, we used to have only, he and she. But then they introduced a new word over the last years. But it's the word is very similar to the other ones, so it fits very well. So
Okay.
there is no effort, and I think people already started using it.
Okay. Oh, well, what's the word?
Hen,
And and
hen.
generally, what will you say, he or she?
Yeah. So han is he, and hun is she, and
Okay.
hen is the in between or whatever else you
Okay.
other.
Han, hun, hen. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it fits well. I mean, like it's not that complicated.
I see. Gotcha. It's better than Z and Z, I suppose. It's
Yeah, I don't know. There is
that's
solving it. And how's this discussion in Netherlands?
I don't know. It is like this is all probably much more dominant in US. I don't feel like Europe is that complicated. Complicates that much this stuff. So it's
Yeah.
just like in your face, all this like stuff happening and debates, and so it just feels like everywhere it's happening, but it's probably not true on ground.
Oh yeah, well, and well, language is always changing, so it's always about whether people will pick up and start using these words, and that's what really matters
Yeah.
most. Mm. But yeah, I wish I got to have Hindi in school. That would have been more interesting than Spanish, I think.
Well, I think at some point we'll all speak Mandarin. Let's see how the world evolves.
Yeah, so are you picking up any Dutch?
I can do some words, but I've been too lazy to pick up Dutch as per se. I worked in international and just like the online everything I can automatically translate. So there's not a big music or movie or literature scene
Mm.
here. So it's like one-on-one talking to people in person. That's this part where I can fake it on chat also. I can. So it's just a small part that it just didn't feel like putting effort yet, but who knows? We'll see.
Mm. No, yeah, I was thinking just interesting about maybe Norway that I could relate to this with language and geography. So my dad is from the north of the country, which is bordering on Russia, and he's a descendant of Finnish people that immigrated to Norway because of hunger in Finland a couple of hundred years ago. And these people are considered like an ethnic minority actually in Norway. And so my grandfather on my father's side and also his brother, they would speak quite a lot of languages. They would speak Finnish and Norwegian and Russian because they were trading with the Russians, and actually they didn't have any problems with Russians politically.
Mhm.
And they would also speak Sami, which was the another ethnic minority language.
Oh, it's actually a language. I didn't know that. Ah.
Yeah, it's also
I
pretty
watched this
different.
movie Klaus. They had Sami people.
Oh, really?
I was like, well, they made it up, but apparently not. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No. So this like good Finnish language I find super interesting. I'm thinking of learning it one day, but um, yeah. So it's actually pretty far. This place, Kirkenes. It's same distance as Oslo to Rome from this place of Norway into the hometown of my hometown. So there are quite far distances in Norway, and although yeah, it is pretty homogeneous. We also have quite some diversity, and not everyone is even aware of this diversity when it comes to like Finnish ancestry and Sami and such.
And I'm always like one thing I always was super curious, like how do people used to meet? Like how do your parents find each other?
Uh, my parents found each other hiking in a
I,
canal. So yeah, it's the
that, that's
traditional
that,
way.
that's such a
That's,
Norwegian thing to do.
yeah, yeah, that's almost stupid. It's too much of a cliche, but yeah, that's how
Gotcha,
they met.
gotcha. Fair enough. And
Yeah.
if we try to like remember the like kind of like feeling that you will describe, what do you feel like while growing up and living in Norway? What did it feel like to be Norwegian? Like what's the feeling you'll say? What's the kind of like thing you'll feel?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't know if I'm the best person to speak about this because of the things that I just mentioned to you. Growing up, I really struggled to feel Norwegian. I always felt Scandinavian. Like I felt that it wouldn't make so much difference if I was Swedish or Finnish or Danish. To me, that was all the same, and I didn't actually really understand why it's not all one country, because at least Swedish and Danish is also so similar to Norwegian language. And I'm sure that a lot of Norwegian people, if they listen to this, would disagree with me. But that's how I felt. I didn't feel Norwegian, I think, or I didn't maybe like so much to think about it. I also struggled a bit with nationalism. At least when I got more terms, when I got older, I got even more critical. But I remember as well from being younger that I didn't entirely get the concept in a way.
Mm.
So, but yeah. So this question is a bit weird for
I
me.
mean, I
But
mean,
yeah,
that,
I think you
I mean,
mean like the culture, maybe the
yeah, I mean, it's less about nationalism, but it's more about like if you look back, what do people value in
mm,
their life? That's the kind of like thing. If you have to choose like a priority, what do people optimize for in their life?
well, yeah. No. I think um growing up, I was maybe a bit disappointed in a way. I mean, it was a very happy and peaceful society, but I was very disappointed with um, how people viewed wealth, because when I grew up, Norway was becoming very wealthy, and the city where I grew up, it's also one of the wealthiest cities. So I think a lot of people valued having a lot of cars and having a lot of houses and having a lot of stuff. And then people are quite traditional, so they would go on vacation either to cabins, but also like going to beaches in some specific countries in Europe. Um, and there would be such a kind of rhythm to it all, but at the same time, it was relying a lot on wealth. So I don't know if it's this is more a modern thing probably. It's just something that started from the 70s with oil,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure how long it's going to last.
Right.
But I remember, and I still think that it's something that um, yeah, that's what I thought that people value growing up, and that's also what I when I started thinking about leaving Norway, probably.
Interesting. So do
Because
people
I didn't value that. I didn't find it interesting.
So people actually, so it was because rest of the like places I go around Europe also, right? So
Mm.
like wealth is kind of like looked down upon. Like people don't like aspire to towards rich people. It's like you know keep it under the bed, under the thing. Is
Oh,
that not?
really?
Yeah, that's a common thing. Like I was trying to
That's
figure out.
interesting.
I was trying
Yeah.
because like one of the things I was trying to see is like in terms of income equality, like northern
Mm.
European countries are very good. Like in Netherlands,
Yeah.
also minimum wage and top class salaries, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
3 times different. But it's also like one of the most unequal wealth society. So
Mm.
you don't become wealthy by salaries, right? You become by
Mm.
assets like equity or real
Mm.
things. And in those terms, like northern European countries are the worst in the world. Actually, the
Mm.
wealth is concentrated in this. It's old money, right? So it's old
Mm.
money versus new money. So people who had it, they're inheriting through the generations. It doesn't pass over to new people, and that's kind of like I kind of felt that people dislike wealth because they have a feeling that they will never be able to get that wealth
Mm.
as a new upcomer. So that's why people
Mm.
dislike it compared to US, where it's like everyone's trying to flash how much money they get, how
Okay.
you
Yeah.
because it's all new money being created there.
Mm.
So people like to flash it, and people look at it aspirationally. And here it looks like people look down on it because they know it's done in a shady way. It's never going to be distributed in a fair way.
Mm.
So that was kind of my feeling at this point.
No, no, that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure if Norway kind of fits with that. I think like Denmark and Sweden, they had much more um, nobility. I think it's called. You know, for old rich families. Denmark had more of these kind of big farmers that go back, big rich families, and Sweden had a lot of nobility. Um, we also do have some rich families, but I don't think to the same extent. And also, one of the great things about Norway is that we have free education. I think it's one of the most important things. So um, most people could get a degree as an engineer completely for free and then get a job in the oil industry. So I think that when this whole economy started growing, it was quite accessible for most people. But now maybe less so because and the people um, who are not accessing this wealth are not Norwegians. Those are mostly, new people or new Norwegians or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So, and they are at a disadvantage for other reasons, like they don't know how to access it, maybe, or they don't know the language, or they don't have the understanding of how they can get it. So, I definitely think there is increasing, and there is for sure increasing inequality in Norway. I'm just not so sure if the inequality is that high within like you know ethnic Norwegian society or something. I think like most Norwegians are still like upper middle class. At least um, where I grew up, it was maybe my city was a bit extreme because it was the petroleum capital that they
Yeah.
called it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you wouldn't you there would be some poverty, but less so.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, it's one of the richest countries in the world right now.
And also, I was just thinking about what you said about looking down upon wealth. Like when I grew up, a lot of the kids around me would say that when they grow up, they want to be rich.
Hmm.
They want to be engineers and earn a lot of money, or they want to be property developers or something like this. They would say that what they wanted to be was something that would make them rich, and that was the uh, I mean, I heard that a lot growing up. I'm not
Yeah.
saying everyone's like that, but
No, no, no.
I don't think it was something that would be frowned upon if you because people would say that quite a lot. So
Gotcha. What's the like most kind of like a thing you will hear people like aspirationally want to take up as a career? Was it like actually engineering kind of things, or was it something else?
um yeah, that was it. But yeah, then I think I told you this before, but of course, you're biased to what you see around you. And I grew up in this one particular city, and then I also went to one particular high school. And in my high school, the one that I went to was a kind of old economy school, so you would get a lot of the kids from the wealthy families that already wanted to go a specific direction with their career. So probably I saw much more of that um, than other people would see. So, but
Gotcha.
yeah, definitely people would say that they wanted to be lawyers, doctors, engineers. Yeah, tradition, things that would make you have a good salary when you grow up.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like I also did the same thing. Is like find intersection where you can still enjoy, but you need a shot at like upper middle class at least, and
Yeah,
that's
no, but that's fair enough. At least like I can see that some of the people who wanted to be lawyers and doctors probably had um, some ideas about those jobs being very, respectable for the values. Was maybe a bit different, but I still think that most people, yeah, really, at least in the society where I grew up, wanted to have really good, secure jobs, which is fine as well. I mean, it makes sense.
gotcha. Uh, I I think you went in like a specific direction yourself. How do you get to choose? I think comparative politics. You were said, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do you get to
Uh,
that one?
um, how I chose that. I think I didn't think so much about what I wanted to be growing up. I I think maybe I also I'm a bit like I think it's difficult to make choices sometimes. So
Yeah,
I would rather just do whatever I found interesting and then let myself go in that direction. And then if it doesn't work, then I would try something else. Um, I think I was in South Africa when I made that decision. Um, and it was pretty much the only thing I applied for. And I just thought, okay, that sounds cool. Maybe I'll do that.
but how do you come across that topic? That's like no
I
surprise.
was, yeah, I think I probably knew that I wanted to study social studies.
Gotcha.
And then I looked at a description of comparative politics and I thought it was cool because it was a bit different than political science. It was more um, global, maybe more international. It sounded, at least in the description. And then I guess I saw the professor. He was pretty well known and amazing professor. And he Frank Orebot, and he unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So yeah, I chose that, and then yeah, it was. I don't know if I thought so much about it. With my studies, I think I often just came across it, and if I got the feeling like this is it, then I would just jump for it. Like with my master thesis as well, I was working as a research assistant in Istanbul for a sociologist professor, and and we were talking a lot about sociology, and I would be very interested in research, but I didn't know if sociology was something for me. It felt, I don't know, it didn't feel right.
Hmm.
And then she was saying, what about social policy? I didn't know what social policy was at the time, but the way she described it, and then I started reading about it, and it was like the perfect combination of sociology with political science. And then I found this one study that did it from a research perspective.
Hmm.
So, you know just trying to find what I was most interested in. Um, yeah, and maybe that's not so not yeah. I was encouraged to always do by my family to follow what I dreamed and what I wanted to do and what interested me instead of going for whatever people told me to do um yeah. So
Gotcha. How are you enjoying that right now? Are you getting more what you expected now, or what do you feel now?
I'm super happy. I love my job. I think I made perfect choice.
Yeah.
For me, I mean,
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
choice for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it aligns so well with my values. I don't feel like my job is a job in a way. Maybe at the moment I'm not paid so well,
Yeah.
um, but I get a lot of good experiences,
Yeah.
and I know that it's only going upwards. If I continue working in this, I can go far in this field. So it's cool. I'm very happy about it. Yeah.
That's all we can ask for, right?
But what do you think about this? Because I mean, I discussed this a lot with my friends also. Um, whether a job should be, does it need to be enjoyable, or can it just be, you should you separate this kind of pleasure from work, that you think of work just as work and not something you enjoy. If it's because some of my friends, they just work, in restaurants, or they don't care so much about it, but just to get the money, and then they spend their time, making music or arts or whatever.
Well, that's a kind of like luxury in some only rich
Mm.
region of places and region of country. This is not something I even like understood. Like I think
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think my parents ever thought about like, ooh, what do I enjoy doing it? They're just like, this is job.
yeah,
Let's just do it so we can get like a basic income to get food and education
yeah.
for kids. And that was it. That was like that was their duty. So it was very duty bound instead of
Okay, okay,
let, let,
interesting.
let me see what can I do. So this is very like modern thing also. As I think
Mm.
societies and countries get rich, you have this freedom to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was super privileged for
Oh,
sure. I know that.
yeah. So this is like a common thing. I think at this point, I also feel like, well, I'm free to choose these things, but
Mm.
it didn't come to my conscience until maybe 2022 that that's something.
Okay.
It was just like, I'm tracked. I know I'm good at maths and physics.
Okay.
I really enjoyed those things. I thought I'll just do them. But at some point, I'm like, well, I don't know what can I do with it. So engineering looked like a very natural choice. There was two things.
Mm.
You can become doctor, engineer. I hated
Mm.
just remembering things, so biology was not my thing. So I just got to engineering track. And in retrospect, I like it because very logical, abstract thinking kind of things I enjoy.
Mm.
But now I can actually think like, maybe I can take it and move it in a different direction. So I guess that's what the dream is, and we are going towards that anyway.
Mm.
That over the time, I think that's like the thing you mentioned, that it's a job but you don't feel like a job. That's
Mm.
exactly what you want everyone to have. Um,
Yeah.
uh, uh, um, uh, Again, they are doing also like a lot of universal basic income kind of experiments.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that. I think I kind of endorse at least the idea that um people should do more what they enjoy, and but and then maybe work less hours, or
Well, that was a like dream in like I think 60s, 70s when the space race was
mm.
happening. That was a dream that by 2020 we'll all work 4 hours to 3 days a week, and the rest of the time we'll just have creativity and we'll have a space
Mm.
colony. But none of these things happen. It really looks like things plateau.
Yeah,
I was
it
trying to
looks
so
mm.
I don't know, because looking at the history, it doesn't seem like we as a species are so much driven by wants. We are very much driven by
Mm.
needs. So if we don't
Mm.
need to, it feels like most of us will not do like highly ambitious things.
Mm.
We'll do things for pleasure. Like I think we'll enjoy doing those
Mm.
things. But like if you imagine like to get a person to, maybe that's just science kind of thing, like to get to moon, like I don't know
Mm.
how naturally we'll come to that thing, or maybe it will be possible. So yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
Past doesn't has it, but I think they're trying to do experiments that if you unlock people from this chores of life, just doing these things which you have to
Mm.
do, will you unlock some massive creativity? I hope
Mm.
that's true. Like we can find something, but I don't
Mm.
know yet.
Yeah, well, creativity is certainly important. I think it's crucial. People need to get it out some way or another. But
Yeah.
whether they do it while while working, or in their spare time, I don't know if it matters that much.
because
Um.
because sometimes I think of times when I was really cleansed for time and energy. I feel like I was super
Mm.
creative for those periods also.
Mm.
They did a lot of these social experiments. I think you might know that they try to. It's hard to measure these things, creativity and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. Yeah.
they gave someone like a group of two group of people a problem to work on, and
Mm.
one group was well, it's more about procrastination, I guess. That
Mm.
they gave a group like, hey, play Minesweeper before you actually give us the
Mm.
answer for like 10-15 minutes, and other person just do it. So they found like a sweet spot where you have to be
Mm.
passively thinking about it, and your idle brain kind of works at it backwards.
Mm.
And those people were more creative than people who were like always running
Mm.
deadline or something. So I guess if you free up people, that will give them like this kind of creativity, I suppose. But who knows?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't even think I'm gonna reply, because we did a creativity study at work. So it's just we made a report on how to define creativity
Oh,
and
how's
how
that?
creativity is defined. and in various different projects because it differs so much. So it's just very big topic.
Okay. I'd love to know because I oftentimes feel um, I struggle with creativity. You know, like
Yeah,
those out of blue things. I'm a very systematic thinker, so I can go
yeah.
from if something from first principles go all the way. I'm very okay with those, but coming
Mm.
with like out of blue kind of things, I don't think I'm good at them. So I'd love to
Mm.
improve that. If you know something, I would love to learn.
Okay, sure. I'll hit you up on that. But creativity itself is hard to define. So that's the conclusion of our study. But no, it's an amazing tool if you manage to get it right. But I think a lot of these things, like you mentioned this experiment, but also flow theory, is probably familiar with, and also having enough time to get into something properly and get into a topic. So that's also why I would probably be before less working hours, or at least maybe not less than 8, but at least that people have time to work with their creativity and do stuff.
Yeah.
Because not if people don't have that luxury at work, then they need to have time to do it otherwise. So
Hmm.
yeah, getting a break.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, what are you doing these days? What's your so I think you work for a agency within uh, what organization?
No, yeah, I work for a Lithuanian company, PPMI it's called. It's a research company, but we work on behalf of international organizations. So I have some projects for the EU, usually like education agency, and then also UNESCO, because I'm working a lot with education and
Yeah.
yeah, Joint Research Council sometimes and
Okay.
different studies.
Do you have particular theme that you're focusing on these days that you're super excited about?
Mm, well, I'm excited about all the stuff that I do at work, but um, working a lot nowadays with sustainability education, education for environmental awareness. I think that's super interesting because a lot of the things that I find myself discussing with friends, and like even now, like what does all of this matter if we will not, our next generation will not survive this.
Yeah.
There are some existential threats that we're facing as a humanity, so as the human race. So it's really interesting working with how to, at least through education, make people more aware and then change their lifestyles and live more sustainably. I know there's a lot of writings about this in the news as well, so it's not such a new thing. And then a lot of education systems are already implementing a lot of changes on this. But still, it's very interesting to look at how different countries are doing it and how it can be done better. And also all these new innovative pedagogies like problem solving and projects, and like making students do more active work, trying to make solutions or find solutions to problems instead of just learning about them, and also learning to take a stand and develop creativity and critical thinking. And there are a lot of interesting things that we just talked about um,
One thing is
in happening in education. Yeah.
couple of quick things on that. I'm just personally curious. Like, what do you think individual can do that will impact most in terms of climate change and sustainability things? As an individual, what can I do most impactful thing?
Mm. Um, okay, so well, I think we need to distinguish like between people who are in the position to influence others or want to be in the position to influence others, like Greta Thunberg or something. I wouldn't maybe go to that step. I mean, not everyone is going to be able to go that far, and maybe if everyone tried, it wouldn't even be helpful.
I think I need to take some classes before I can sail to New York.
Yeah. I think we need to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
But of course, this is just very simple, and um, reducing waste and thinking more about the products that we buy less products, or buy products that are more sustainable. Think long term. Um, they're all the simple stuff, but then after a while, maybe start talking with people about it and doing stuff for your community, picking up trash and Yeah, maybe joining a cycling community or something, helping people recycle or making more sustainable choices. But yeah.
Do you think that's going to be enough, or we need like major technology breakthrough to actually get through? Because the places where we are doing, like let's say Western Europe and
Mm,
North America, let's say these are developed places. If you look at emissions and stuff, it's kind of like
mm,
super low already per capita kind of basis, and it's going to come
mm.
from developing countries. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if those countries get to like energy usage and all the quality of life that
Mm.
these places have, the world is like require 10 times more energy or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like if you're working in IT or whatever work you do,
Yeah.
then you should try to use your skills that you have to solve these problems on a bigger scale, of course. I was just talking like generally what not knowing what people have as a skill, but yeah, if you're working in a field that can be useful, or like even if not, trying to come up with solutions, if it's IT or, um, nature-based solutions like planting trees or making products from nature that can um, reduce carbon footprint, or somehow reduce CO2 emissions, then that's even better. The problem with a lot of the initiatives that or kind of projects that I work with, so maybe I'm interviewing someone who's running a project for um, yeah sustainability, is that it's very focused on a local area and not possible to scale up and to kind of do on a bigger scale. And this is a huge problem, so yeah, we need to find a way to make sure that it's being implemented, these changes are being implemented much wider.
Yeah.
And that's also why I find it interesting working with a true education,
Mm.
because that is if you get these ideas through national education systems or regional lab, then you can reach a lot of people. But like technology as well, like there, I think everyone has to play a part.
Yeah, I guess so. What do you think is the best way to educate people? I don't know. I focus on or like growth stage kids or something also that how
Yeah.
do you like breakthrough to do there?
We focus mostly in my team on elementary education or like school education, maybe up to high school. um, I think that well,
Because the key
there
thing,
is a lot of research on what is best way to do it, but
right? Because the
for
key
sure,
thing is
yeah.
we still teach people in this like
Mm,
industrial age, row by column kind of classrooms.
mm,
One god kind of like a teacher who is conducting the orchestra for the kids. It's like a very like generic way
yeah.
of doing things, and people like fast, slow, different interests.
Mm.
What's a key thing that we understand that should be like a major change from that?
Well, nowadays it's very different anyways, because there we have
Yes.
online
Yeah.
virtual learning. But for sure, yeah. One thing that I take out from our research is that it's very important to be able to find ways to teach and assess as well the
Mm.
skills that we need, and they are often interdisciplinary. So if you are so usually we teach subjects, right? So you teach math, science, blah blah. Well, actually, there are a lot of issues related to maths or science that are related to climate change. But climate change is also a social problem that is caused by the way we live our lives. So these are interrelated issues.
Right.
Um, and the problem is that a lot of education systems, they teach these in a very siloed manner. So maybe the only way you can get to teach climate change is if you introduce a new subject that is climate change.
Mm.
But that doesn't also really solve anything, because I mean, it does to a certain extent, but it would be great to find a way to introduce it throughout, as a interdisciplinary topic. But then again, it's challenging to assess it. So an assessment also is important, because if you don't assess skills related to climate change, um, then you signal that it's not important. So you also need to signal to students that these knowledge or skills matters. So um, teaching, I would say, so in the classroom, teaching it through maths and science, but also through social studies and even English, and making sure that you also teach how it's interrelated to different topics. Using different technology, yeah, for sure. Cool things like, simulations or something where you can make students feel compassion or empathy and better maybe understand the consequences of these challenges. Those are great. And being school trips, taking kids out in nature. But of course, some of these are a bit more difficult to do when you're teaching in a school that doesn't have resources
Yeah.
and the infrastructure. So this is a huge problem.
Hmm. Gotcha.
There's a lot you can do. When we work with teachers, it feels very often that teachers are not kind of limited. As long as they are creative and motivated, they can do amazing things in the classroom. But
Hmm.
I just know from our global studies, looking at what teachers do on the ground, that not everyone is able to do that because they don't have the support necessary, or the facilities or infrastructure to even try to introduce a bit more new methods.
One thing is like kind of correlated, probably. I was just thinking in terms of highest ranked quality of education. It seems like Nordic countries do very well. What's interesting happening that like they have such a high quality education?
Mm. Well, oh, that sounds a bit difficult to answer. But
Is it like teachers are paid well that motivates them to go
mm,
experiment it, or do they have freedom autonomously, or is like nationalized to standard, or what works there?
well, so I don't know, but with all different courses, but I know that some from some of these kind of sustainability education areas, it kind of originated, or it was started in Sweden and Denmark. And a lot of teachers in early days gathered and they had action research projects, and unions were engaged. And um, so there's been some kind of experimentation going on in research way back. Yes, teachers, I don't know if teachers are that well paid. In all countries, teachers are not that well paid.
Compared to
Um,
value, compared to like the kind of ownership they have on the future, I think they are like underpaid, definitely.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of protests, and teachers are also in Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
I think maybe they solved it a bit in Finland, that they increased years that teachers need to for completing their studies. So then you kind of show or signal that the value, is higher, and then it's also easier to actually raise their salaries because they have a higher degree.
Mm.
um, you need to somehow increase the status of a profession
Yeah.
for people's wages to increase.
Mm.
um, I think that goes for most professions. Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just thinking of one person I met from South Korea. Apparently, the most
Yeah.
aspirational thing you can do is to become a teacher,
Oh,
and
really?
that's like. And the flip side is that this is something I have experienced from my working in different companies.
Yeah.
The companies which are most prestigious, they have
Mm-hmm.
the hardest recruitment process. Also, to get inside those
Really?
company is super hard. So that becomes like a prestige. Like if I'm
Oh,
really good,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have to be able to crack the interview. So that's kind of like thing. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
that connected with in Korea that if someone has to become a teacher, it's so hard, so
Oh,
competitive. She prepared for 3 years to get in, become a teacher.
oh, yeah,
Um,
that's incredible. That's so interesting. Actually, I was talking with a good friend of mine from the US about the police in the US,
yeah,
because I was kind of arguing from position, that the police in the US, they don't have that much education or good training, and that's the training that makes them not prepared, or and it also eventually causes these kind of dramatic situations, or scandals. But she was saying that no, it's actually, she did some studies on this, and they had some lectures on this in her uni, and she was told like one of the most important factors is the vetting system, because it's not necessarily so much you can do with the training if you already got the wrong person.
right.
So what matters most is to increase the standards, even to take in people to train them, or to let them be police officers in the first place. Because there are some people who just are not fit,
Yeah,
and they maybe, and I think in Norway we had same kind of issue with the in the army, that there you will have some people who are just interested in the army and police because they're interested in guns,
Right.
and they are interested in just, action, maybe playing the hero, whatever. But they don't really understand the concept that you're in the army or the police to protect people,
Mhm.
and to protect your nation. Maybe they don't even get that.
Right.
They're narcissists or something. So you need a vetting system,
Mhm.
so that you can rule out those kind of people, preventing them from becoming police officers or officers or.
Do you think that really matters in the quality of people you'll get to align on the kind of vision? I guess that if you're joining military, you have to think like this, or you can have different intentions and still get the same result.
Yeah, no, it's probably also, yeah, sounds reasonable. I mean, like, if you have people who are more, similar or agreeing at least with the main mission, then you'll probably get more done. That's just what I would say. But
Yeah.
no, I was just thinking, at least with this teachers in Korea as
Yeah.
well. It's always interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
One thing, also super curious, how is Norway in terms of religion? Do people actually ascribe to some principles, or it's very chill now?
Yeah, and religion. Um, I would say that Norway is a very secular society.
Yeah.
Um, mm, whatever religion people have, it's personal, I think. Um, we do have quite a lot of traditions,
Mm.
and some of them, some people would say that they are religious. Other would say that Christianity adopted those that were earlier pagan traditions.
All right. Yeah.
Uh, so, but now, yeah. Well, so around Christmas times, we do have some traditions, and Easter.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, people are just not super religious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say.
How is how is
Check out the stats.
how is the history of do you feel Viking? That's my question basically.
You've been wondering about this the whole time, haven't you?
How much have you so I just did the DNA test, and I have 2%
Okay.
Neanderthal in my DNA. So I was just curious, how much Viking do people still have it there?
Oh, well, I don't know, like, because I'm not doing the DNA test because I don't want to sell out my DNA to the Israeli company.
Gotcha.
But
Fair enough.
no, I don't know, but yeah, maybe people are Viking, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people, I would just assume that it's our heritage, so most people are mostly Viking. But I know that I have some Scottish ancestry as well on my mom's side, and I've heard, like, people traveled, back in time as well, and the Vikings, they went around Europe, they went to Turkey and everywhere, so
Yeah. They even
there's
went to
probably
US.
some mixing.
They even went to Canada, I think, to just say hello,
Mm.
and then so like, okay, we are going back, I think.
I can imagine them doing that. Look at us, we're so social, and then people are saying that we're so cold-hearted.
But that is something. That is something true though. As you go from South Europe to North Europe, I feel people start getting cold and cold. They're like, it's too cold. I just want to get my home, get away from it.
Yeah. Oh.
So,
I
not,
hope you're not feeling that if you've been to. Have you been to Norway? No, you haven't.
not to Norway yet. That's
Yeah.
still you need to get there, but we'll find out. Uh,
Yeah.
and also, like, how is the general feeling towards society that you grew up around? Do you feel like you're very independent, that you don't feel like that much influence from people? People are not trying to influence each other that much.
Um, I don't know if I understood your question
Because I personally felt like
altogether. Yeah.
so just growing in India, society is a big
Yeah.
part,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
Your neighbors basically are like watching you. You kind of like
okay.
do what most people around you do. That's how we learn, also, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like a big thing.
Mm.
What will get approved, kind of thing. Do you have that feeling, or it's very because there are so few
Well,
people?
yeah. Maybe in some way, because as I told you, went to kindergarten really early, so um, I was let loose in a way, into this institution of education.
Yeah.
uh, and then the people and the friends that I hang out with and my neighborhood, and yeah, getting a lot of influence. Um, but I think this thing with neighborhood differs a lot in Norway, and not the same everywhere. But our neighborhood was very much connected, and I knew everyone in the neighborhood, and still knows most people in the neighborhood, and it was really lovely neighborhood. But if they influence, yeah, sure. I mean, I think you're being influenced by everyone.
Yeah.
If people are trying to kind of pressurize you or like make you believe in certain things, not so much. Maybe I had some experiences when I had some friends that were religious, and growing up, I had a Polish friend, uh, or like she was Norwegian, but their parents were Polish, and she was one of my best friends. But then she moved to a city that was quite religious, and I went there a few times and um, met with her friends and had some interesting experiences going to church meetings. And then there were some people I tried to influence me, maybe more than I was used to, and uh, or maybe just more than maybe I just considered as being influenced because it was so different from what I was used to.
Right.
Um, but there are some societies or maybe groups or cults or something like this that when you meet them, you will realize that okay, we have very different values or different ways of living, and that's when you maybe start questioning to influence each other, because otherwise when people are so similar, I don't think you even notice that you're being influenced by someone.
True. Uh, do you think that kind of like adds up? It seems like people up north are like very much into metal. Do,
Okay.
that seems like the thing where it comes from, all the like goth vibe
Okay.
and
Yeah.
metal
Well, that's just
culture.
an interesting one.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, do you think so, or it's just like my
So
feeling?
I on this you actually asked you came to the right person, okay?
Okay,
Because
perfect.
my cousin is a singer in a metallic band,
Okay,
and my his sister, so also my cousin, she's married to another one who is a singer in a metallic band. They have like band names that are like satanistic or something.
right.
Uh, and they had some interesting. I remember that they have interesting pets. They had snakes and spiders and such.
All right, all right.
But so I don't listen so much to metal music, but I'm quite aware of the whole culture around it, and I'm a bit fascinated about it because it was a very underground thing when it started, and it was not much approved in Norwegian society. And actually, one of the reasons that it became so famous is that they started selling. Some of the first bands started selling records around Europe, um, and they didn't even get to record their music in Norway
Mm,
because like there was such a like opposition against this music,
right,
and so their way to become popular was really tricky, and they relied a lot on support internationally.
mm,
So I just find it an interesting journey, and now it's an important part of our cultural heritage.
right.
It's a huge and very important part of our cultural heritage.
I
But
can,
a lot of Norwegians would maybe not agree with you, but I definitely think it is.
yeah, yeah. I can see it
Of
coming
course,
from
it's one
coming
of our biggest like exports in music.
Yeah, I can see it coming from, some Viking coming out as music, I guess. It's like, two horns becoming two metal kind of thing. And I don't know where the snake comes in the picture. How is it like to have a snake at house? I don't understand that part.
um, I don't know if well, I think it's just like in the some of the early days of metal, the idea of the whole society or that was into this music is that you are going to cherish the work of Satan and the work of kind of evil forces. So whatever is considered ugly in a
Okay,
way is the highest quality.
I see, I see.
Okay, so you cherish death and all that is kind of evil, And I know snake is a representation, and also some other insects are representations of maybe Satan, or the more evil forces from the Bible, or
Yeah.
like wearing black. Black is also not a like not the
Yeah.
color of God. So it's like it's all about finding opposing views to what is kind of good, and then yeah, cherish that through culture and
Mm.
music.
That's something I observe when I go around traveling. Also, everyone wears black. At least, like as you winter, do you feel like that has some history with something? Why is black the dress code everywhere
In
in
general, everywhere,
Yeah, I
or
mean Europe, I see that like such a predominant. It just
mm,
everyone wears just black. It's kind of like such a thing.
okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know about black in general. I also notice it. I think there is a difference between the people who actively, like in metal community, or um, actively use black because they believe black as a certain. Also in Islam, there are people who wear specific colors because they believe that black is has a specific meaning. But then I think most people in Europe also just wear black because it's normal and
Right.
fashionable at some point. So it differs so much. I don't know, but I also notice it, and I do find it funny that in a way that everyone is just wearing gray and black. And I'm sometimes thinking if it's because people don't want to stand out or being noticed. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you tell me. I'm not
I
a
mean,
psychologist.
well, summer does seem colorful, like everyone
Yeah.
is flowery and like it's just like
Mm,
colorful. But in winter, definitely, as the weather gets dark, people are like, well, I'll
mm.
show it here that it's dark. So it's just like outward
Yeah.
set probably.
Well, I kind of disagree in a way. Like I now that I'm skiing a lot, I'm always wearing a lot of colorful clothes. And
Well,
my winter clothes are very colorful. And it's from a security perspective. You shouldn't wear dark clothes in the winter. You will get run over by a car, or
I get.
you will get lost. People will not see you if you fall in the snow and or you
I
drown.
agree. Well, more talking about city probably. If I go
Mm.
I go skiing, I definitely want to be a brightest, colorful thing that I can, so people can
Yeah,
spot me in snow. So
yeah.
yeah, that's true.
I don't think of a lot of people. I mean, like I'm thinking at least always practicality.
Yeah,
I'm not into fashion at all. So for me, it's always practicality.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Fun things. What's really awesome foods and drinks that should know about?
From Norway?
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, maybe I should comment on some traditional stuff.
What's
Then,
classics? Yeah.
so I think you can kind of divide Norwegians into two strands. So people who are agricultural or like from agriculture families, and then people who are from fisher families. And those from agriculture families, or maybe from the more populated parts of Norway around Oslo, and those would eat more meat. And then from those living along the coast would eat more fish.
Mm,
And I can only speak for the fisher parts of Norway,
gotcha.
and I also don't eat meat. I only ate meat growing up because it was my father was hunting it,
Mm,
and then it would be um, then I don't mind eating it. But growing up as well, I mostly ate fish, and we fish a lot as well.
mm.
So I can speak for all that weird fish dishes that you may have heard of. I love them all, and I even brought one of the most stinky fish dishes for New Year's party this year.
Okay.
And I had to make a plan with my family beforehand how I'm going to make people eat this
Yeah.
because it's so smelly.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that I can put this rakfisk, some kind of fermented fish,
Yeah.
inside a tortilla roll with some cream cheese and some herbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I made it look really nice. And then I brought it to our New Year's party, and it was a very multicultural party. We had a Lithuanian, Iranian, some Israelis, a Greek, uh, and we were going to vote on what was the best food.
Okay.
And then the Greek person voted for my dish, and
Huh?
a lot of people cherished it and said like everyone ate it. It was there was nothing left. I was very surprised.
Okay, okay. Fair. All
But when
right.
I first told I'm going to bring this fermented fish to the party, people were very skeptical.
Yeah, don't do that. They were probably asking. But I'll be down for that. Um, okay. So
And
fish.
yeah, for drinks, we don't. I mean, like we have akevit, maybe that's special.
Oh, what's
Uh,
that?
it's like also mm, very strong spirits.
Yeah.
Probably you may be familiar with it. It's aqua white. It's
Well,
like so drinks. It's from grain and potatoes, and
okay.
it's flavored with herbs, and it's also popular in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what's like your ideal recommendation if someone has to go Norway? Where should they? I definitely go.
Um, you should go to Bergen, I think.
Bergen.
Bergen, yeah, second biggest city, um, stuck between seven mountains. It has a really, yeah, nice architecture, beautiful nature, and you get to see a different part of Norway. And then north of Norway, I would definitely recommend like Tromsø, Trondheim.
Right.
Yeah,
Now is a good time to see aurora borealis also.
Northern Lights, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But also summer is amazing in the north. Okay, there are way too much mosquitoes, but we have the midnight sun, so the sun is up all night and it gets really red and it's so beautiful.
Okay. Okay. And you can see that from Tromsø. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
most places in the north.
All right. We'll get there. And what is your what is the most interesting Norwegian word?
Word.
Yeah. Or phrase.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well. Mm.
Or common. What's the most common thing people will say as a filler?
Common.
Yeah.
Most common.
As a filler word, like or something like that.
Oh well, maybe I could tell something funny because I just watched a video today.
Oh yeah.
Um, we tend to when we say yes, instead of saying yes, just breathing in air.
Oh.
So yeah, it's very weird. It's like instead of saying yes, I would say
Oh really?
you can use the sound to like just breathe in,
Yeah.
kind of, but do
Yeah.
it very quickly,
Yeah.
or you can do it together with the saying yes. So you yeah,
Oh, so you're like gasping for air in the water.
gasping for air, but it's a way
Okay.
of saying yes or showing agreement.
Okay.
And you can also you can do it very long. Like you can do if you do it in a conversation, like in between, you can be like. And then and you can do it many times and like people who are not from Norway would not understand. They would be worrying that person's getting a heart attack.
Yeah, I think if you drop some wise bombs, people will just like die of gasping.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's a funny one. It's not a word, but it's a
okay.
cool thing.
That's a cool one. All right, fair enough. I think we covered a lot of things. Super fun to go through all the things and stuff. Anything interesting that you'd like to mention else?
No, I think it's said a lot, and I don't know if it's covering for or most Norwegians would be behind me, but I hope that
Right, one
people are
person is
learn a lot.
as equal as a whole country. That's
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, what's next coming for you in 2021?
um, I think I'm just gonna stay here in Lithuania. I'm pretty happy here. You know, it's like it's funny, but I don't see that many differences between like the people here. I feel like a bit like in Norway. It's just it's struggle that we don't have mountains, but I'm happy here. I think I'll stay for a while more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about you?
Uh, don't know. Trying to figure it out as the lockdown opens up. What to do? Amsterdam is a good place, but still thinking what's next. Is it a permanent base or not? That's good.
You're also stuck in a flat place in a flat country.
That's true. I did used to love going like big mountains once a year, but now it's a little bit far away. The highest one is 300 meters. That's like the highest mountain in this country. So, but it comes with canals and bike lanes, so that's kind of like a fun and the way
Yeah.
that's like nice. We'll see as the world opens. I do look forward to traveling a little bit more and
Mm,
trying to see what kind of like a startup comes out of the things I'm working on. So that's basically two things.
yeah, absolutely. And you still get to travel a bit through your podcast, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's a plan for now. So very nice to talk to you as well.
Yeah, it was really nice to talk with you too. And I will check out all your different podcasts.
Yeah,
There were lots of interesting people there for sure.
yeah, definitely. As they say, like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. All right, I'll let you go. But super thanks for taking time and chatting. It was super nice to catching up with you again. And
Yes.
let's do it again.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Same to you. Have a good weekend.
Bye.